rifles in the Kyiv region alone, this according to one report. And to acquire these firearms, citizens needed only to show an ID, rounding out the defense capabilities of average citizens. Ukrainian officials took to the airwaves post-invasion to inform the citizens how to manufacture Molotov cocktails efficiently and where and how to attack Russian armored vehicles with them effectively. Well, joining us to talk more about this, international affairs expert Adam Roosevelt. He joins me now from Dubai. Thanks and welcome to the program.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
What's your take on the proliferation of weapons? And this is as a result of the invasion in Ukraine.
Well, I'll first start by saying that the strategy in terms of equipping the Ukrainian military and its volunteer force has been consistent with ensuring they have the small arms. And then we effectively focused on making sure they had other equipment such as drones and so forth. Proliferation today is going to continue demanding new advanced systems to effectively what we call expand their strike capabilities as well as their range. Currently, right now, the conversation is centered on providing Ukraine with missile systems that will allow them to strike within 50 miles. Now, these equipment is essentially U.S. grade equipment military, but it comes with conditions from the White House that this equipment will not be used to strike Russian territory. This is where the gray area will be, because what the U.S. is asking the Ukraine to do is arm themselves, but at the same time follow conditions that the U.S. sets, given that they've lost so much ground thus far. It is going to be extremely difficult to see them hold back with discipline.
And that is the question, will they be able to do that? With these advanced weapons coming in, could that also change the war?
I think it can. And I think if we were to put ourselves in the Kremlin's shoes, we would have a different perspective. We've not been in this particular position where we don't have U.S. military on the ground in the Ukraine, but the United States military is providing intelligence, very advanced weaponry. So the Russian counterpart on the other side will be holding the U.S. accountable at some point in time. So I think this will be a question about what Russia will do in terms of retribution in the future for allies of NATO, specifically led by the United States, and what retribution looks like, not just from an economic perspective, but also from a military and intelligence perspective, and leveraging what we would call guerrilla warfare tactics to target U.S. interests in different ways that we've not seen today.
And of course, Russia is frowning at that, this U.S. advanced weapons to Ukraine. But also, looking at the way things are, the conflict there, do you fear that we are not past the nuclear dimension to this invasion?
Well, having served in the military and having been in 2 military campaigns, as a commander, putting the shoes on in the commander's room, I would say that nuclear capabilities not just cover nuclear. We have a term called chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear, 4 classes, if you will, in terms of tools that could be deployed. But I would say that the Kremlin is holding back this capability primarily because they know that NATO is looking for the reason. And anything that would leverage a CBRN capability, which includes nuclear, would give the NATO allies some reason to encroach further into this war. We won't say potentially putting boots on the ground, but there are innovative ways beyond economic sanctions, beyond intelligence, beyond supplies that the U.S. and NATO could effectively encroach further and support Ukraine with this particular effort.
And Adam, finally, Ukraine citizens were allowed to own firearms even before the conflict, by getting a license through government. What would a post-war Ukraine look like?
Well, a post-war Ukraine will look like a very devastated country, from infrastructure sectors ranging from construction, real estate, food, and information technology, data centers. Everything is degraded. We will go through what I would consider to be a reconstruction era funded by NATO, funded by European Union. Whether or not they join the EU, there will be a tremendous amount of surplus of cash that needs to go into a fund for reconstruction because of degraded infrastructure.
International affairs expert Adam Roosevelt from Dubai, thank you so much for joining us, for your expertise on the program.
Thank you.